going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. We are officially halfway through 2021, and as wild as that is to say, I did want to take a moment to stop and talk about my top 25 favorite movies of the year so far. Yes, 25 because I've seen a lot of movies. Before we begin, let me know in the comments what your favorite movies this year were so far. As always, this is just my list and not a definitive ranking. Also, make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you like these reviews, as it helps me out immensely by getting my channel out there. And if you're new here, I hope you consider hitting that subscribe button for more movie-related content on a near-daily basis. So before jumping in, I just wanted to tell you how this list is going to go. While I will do an actual ranking at the end of the year, for the sake of this list, since it's only the middle of the year, it'll just be in alphabetical order. While I clearly do like some of these more than others, and if you've been following closely, you'll know which one is my current frontrunner of the year, I don't want to give too many hints as of now which ones more than likely won't make the cut later on in the year, especially given that this is a very interesting mix of films, if I may say so. But these are all great movies, regardless of whether or not they make my actual end of the year list. I gave them all at least 8 out of 10s, and I recommend that you check them all out. And my rule of thumb with any best of the year list is that these are strictly based off of local release dates. A few of these premiered in other countries last year, or they premiered at film festivals last year, so some may really be 2020 movies for some of you, depending on where you are, but this is only going by their wide release dates in the US, just to clear that up. Lastly, I have done reviews for all of these movies. There will not be any surprise films on here that I haven't already covered on my channel. You can check out my playlist of 2021 movie reviews to find them all, and I'll leave a link to that in the description. But if you're wondering why a certain movie didn't make it, either I've reviewed it and it just didn't make the cut, or I haven't seen it. Though, if there's something you think I should check out, let me know in the comments. But now, let's get to the list. Kicking things off is Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar, which is basically an extended SNL skit that somehow manages to not lose steam, being joke after joke of pure silliness. And some things might be a bit too ridiculous for some people, but for me, a lot of the jokes landed really well, thanks to some fantastic writing by Kristen Wiig and Annie Mumolo, who, along with Jamie Dornan, also carry this with their infectious energy, making this an absolute blast. Benny Loves You, an absolutely bonkers horror comedy that seems like a Child's Play knockoff, but actually has a personality of its own, with the title character having some of the most chaotic energy I've seen in a film so far this year. It's incredibly bloody and over the top, though part of what makes it work so well is that the main characters also have very sharp personalities that makes you care for them, and as a result there's a lot more consistency to it than you think, and it has the potential to become one of the year's biggest cult films. The Father, which has Anthony Hopkins giving one of his finest performances of all time as a man in this deteriorating state trying to maintain some sort of control over his life, and it is absolutely heartbreaking. It's definitely a film that hits particularly hard if you've had a family member experience something similar, but even if you haven't, I still think this will be a film that'll be hard to resist, as it uses mystery elements to tell a truly emotionally compelling story. I Care a Lot, which focuses on a number of unlikable characters doing terrible things, but if you're able to get past all that, it's actually a lot of fun. The film brilliantly infuses moments of suspense with some excellent bits of dark comedy. Rosamund Pike gives one of her finest performances here, while Peter Dinklage is also in top form as her nemesis, with the two of them making for one of the year's most fun film rivalries. In the Heights, which is an absolute joy to watch from start to finish, as it's something good to put on if you want to just sit back, relax, and smile. There is a positive message at the heart of it, and it's conveyed well through catchy songs, solid acting, and visually stunning dance sequences, making for one of the most delightful experiences I had watching a movie this year. Jacob's Wife, a very quick-paced horror comedy with an engaging story and fully fleshed out lead characters. It's very funny, though it doesn't try to evoke a laugh a minute from us, but it does give us a nice balance of genre thrills, solid character arcs, and some sharply written jokes, anchored by 2 solid performances from Barbara Crampton and Larry Fessenden, making for one of the finest vampire movies I've seen in a while. Judas and the Black Messiah, a film carried by 2 incredibly strong performances, though while Lakeith Stanfield was great, I thought Daniel Kaluuya was absolutely phenomenal, whose performance alone makes this worth the watch. This also doesn't act as your typical biopic, as it's really one part historical drama and one part thriller, and the way it brilliantly ratchets up tension was completely unnerving, especially once we hit the second half of the film. Little Fish, a romantic drama taking place during a pandemic that causes people to lose their memories. It's not an easy film to get through, but its heartbreaking drama feels incredibly earned, and that's due to some wonderful performances from Olivia Cooke and Jack O'Connell. Though the film has a lot else going for it between a strong script, solid direction, and some gorgeous cinematography, and it's easily one of the year's biggest hidden gems. Luca, one of the most laid back and easygoing films from Pixar in quite some time, but that doesn't mean it's bland or one dimensional, as it has delightful and funny characters who you can connect with, along with the fact that it touches nicely on themes of friendship and acceptance. While younger audiences will most certainly love it, as there are a lot of easy lessons for them to take in, all audiences will be able to appreciate this in one way or another. Minari, a very sweet and delightful film focusing on this one family's day-to-day life as they try making it in America. While the scenes of Stephen Yeun as the father were great, it's the relationship between his son David and his mother-in-law Sunya that were the highlights for me, with Alan Kim and Yeon Yu Young's performances being absolutely incredible. It can be heartbreaking at times, but when these characters do find some success, it really puts a smile on your face, and it resonated heavily with me. The Mitchells vs. the Machines, easily one of the year's most creative films, more than anything else. It hits us with a ton of jokes at a very rapid-fire pace, but presented through some really fun, unique animation that's nothing short of breathtaking, with the frantic energy of producers Phil Lord and Christopher Miller being a clear influence. And mixed in there is a nice, sweet message about family, making this something that the whole family will be able to enjoy together. Nobody, the Bob Odenkirk action movie that clearly takes a page out of John Wick's book, which is a good thing as it's a non-stop barrage of creative, well-choreographed action scenes, all done in a tone that doesn't take itself too seriously. Bob Odenkirk himself is a lot of fun here, though it's also nice to see the likes of the RZA and Christopher Lloyd also pop up in supporting roles as well. If this kicked off a string of off-the-wall action movies starring Odenkirk, I'd be totally okay with that. Nomadland, an absolutely beautiful film that has a very restrained approach, but still manages to cover topics like our relationships, what we value, how we are with friends and loved ones, and the journeys that we take. It's a quiet film, though one that still manages to hit all the right notes, elevated by an excellent performance from Frances McDormand, who gives some of her best work here. Our Friend, a heartbreaking film that highlights how something awful like a terminal illness can really exacerbate our worst qualities and how they just don't go away because of everything that's going on. It can be absolutely brutal, but also heartfelt and authentic, thanks especially to its performances, with Jason Segel and Dakota Johnson being the two big standouts. It has a touching story that's not totally easy to get through at times, but it'll be sure to resonate with you deeply. Psycho Goreman, a horror comedy that feels like the natural continuation of 90s movies like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, with its heavy use of costumes and practical effects, and it is hilarious, with a lot of the jokes centering around this monstrous creature who can kill everyone with ease, being bound to take part in childish antics by a bratty little girl. It has a goofy tone that doesn't ask you to take it seriously whatsoever, which makes for one of the year's most fun films. A Quiet Place Part 2, which gives us another win for director John Krasinski. While this does feel a little more blatant in setting up future films as opposed to the standalone feeling first movie, I think there's still a lot to appreciate here between its overall sense of dread, its sound mixing, its score, and the performances, especially with the addition of Cillian Murphy, and it makes for one of the year's most nerve-wracking films. Quo Vadis Ada, an absolutely gut-wrenching film with a very strong anti-war message that makes it both an effective character study as well as an engaging thriller, as the title character has to race against the clock in order to save her family. It's a film that makes you uncomfortable, but it does so because it has something to say, and it makes for a film that will sit with you long after it's over. Raya and the Last Dragon, which makes for another win for Walt Disney Animation Studios, being the closest to a full-on action movie we've seen from them in quite some time. Adults will most certainly appreciate said action, along with the exploration of its mythological elements, while kids will be able to take away a lesson about building trust and strengthening relationships, making this another great Disney film that's fun for the whole family. Riders of Justice, which is one part dark comedy, one part character study, and one part revenge thriller, all of which blend together really well, thanks to one of the sharpest scripts I've seen all year from writer-director Anders Thomas Jensen. Plus, the work of the cast all around was fantastic, though the standout is of course Mads Mikkelsen, who gets to be badass while still acting as a fun straight man during the comedic bits. It's a really effective genre mashup that makes for one of the year's wildest rides. Saint Maud, a horror film that wound up not being what I expected it to be in all the best ways possible, with an intimate story showing the contrast between these two individuals with wildly opposite values and what happens when one of them goes too far. The film constantly messes with us through the narration by Morfydd Clark's Maud, and despite being a slow burn, it's one that constantly keeps you on your toes, asking all the right questions. This makes for an excellent debut by writer-director Rose Glass, and is easily one of A24's better horror movies. Shiva Baby, an expertly crafted dark comedy that takes place all in one location and in real time, mainly dealing with our lead character getting into a lot of these awkward confrontations. The way the film brilliantly ratchets up the tension is excellent, especially brought out to the forefront by some top-notch direction, two wonderful lead performances from Rachel Sennett and Molly Gordon, and a chilling, horror-like score that brings out all the anxiety felt by our lead character, leading to a coming-of-age comedy that can sometimes feel frightening. Test Pattern, a film that operates on a less is more notion, tackling heavy subject matter like sexual assault and racial discrimination, though with a lot of the tension stemming from things that aren't seen or aren't said. And I thought this handled it all incredibly well, giving us a film that's one part character study, one part social commentary, and one part intense thriller, making it a mesmerizing film with something to say. Together, an absolutely adorable movie that may feel like your typical indie comedy, and you think it's eventually going to go down this romantic comedy path, but is actually a bit subversive. Now, I wouldn't call it ambitious, but that's also its biggest charm, as it's a really nice movie to just sit back, relax, and make you smile for 90 minutes. It's a very funny and sweet film that will be just what you need if you're looking to be put in a good mood. Two of Us, which starts off as a simple romantic drama, but turns into this unnerving suspense thriller, almost in the vein of Parasite stylistically. It plays into your emotions in an expertly done manner, especially brought to the forefront by two great lead performances, and its mixing of solid character development and genre elements is nothing short of phenomenal, making for another of the year's nicest hidden gems. And finally, We Broke Up, another film that's an absolute joy to watch, mainly due to its two leads, who are the driving force behind why it works as well as it does. The plot does have a very sitcom-like setup, but for the most part, it forgoes the sitcom route, and it's actually a character-driven film that deals more with two people whose lives are upended at the worst possible time. So a lot of it I actually found to be a lot more realistic than your average rom-com, making for one of the year's most pleasant surprises. And that's my list, and it's been quite a year so far, between Oscar-winning dramas, indie comedies, animated movies, and cult horror films. And while I loved all of these films, we have so much more to look forward to that has the potential of being even better, and I can't wait to discuss it all with you in the coming months. But let me know, what are some of your favorite movies of 2021 so far? Was it anything I listed here? Was it something I left off? Let me know in the comments below so we can discuss. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it. And for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching everyone, and keep having fun with film.